I'd be like George Clooney at a rest home. I can drive at night and I can pay a repairman. So,
and you know what? I'm not scared to pay a repairman.
So I can do it all, man.
So here's the truth. If people don't know this, essentially music repair is an hourly fee.
Right.
I mean, it's based on how long it takes you to fix a horn. At the end of the day, that's how you set the prices. How long does it take to do that procedure?
Correct.
I had no idea that plumbers were worth that much. But obviously they were, because I was spraying water all over my house. We were talking about a repair, if you weren't here earlier, that I attempted on my own at the house and wound up paying a professional to do it. Mm-hmm. It's always worth it after you screw it up, is it not?
It is. The repairman here at this store, I remember being at my last job, and I had a valve cap that was sticking on a euphonium. So I pulled it out, and I noticed there's a little bit of a ding in there. So then I thought, well, I can probably fix that. So I got a drill stick, and I wiggled it around, and I made it into an oval shape. So, of course, the valve can go on. And I thought, well, if I get some channel grips, I could round that out. I'm pretty smart. I can do that. I literally, the band directors out there will love this. I went up and I took the euphonium out of the case, and I went up to the repairman. It's upstairs in this music store, and I climbed the stairs with my euphonium, and I got down on my hands and knees, and I held the euphonium over my head. Mark Smith, I am so sorry. But you're right. He could have probably fixed that in 20 minutes.
He actually has a tool.
Yeah, that's just I'm just an idiot.
I can't tell you how many, because if people don't know, in my experience, I started as a repairman.
Okay.
It's so easy to tell when Dad tried to fix the horn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they don't think you're going to notice. Oh, it's just like that. I don't know. Okay, I can tell you exactly what you did.
Yeah.
But
my dad was obvious. He accidentally ripped the lead pipe off my cornet.
Perfect. Getting your mouthpiece out?
Getting your mouthpiece out. So we put in a vise and took some channel locks and just wrenched that thing around, and it ripped off the lead pipe. And so I always use that speech for my beginners at the parent meeting. So now my dad to my cornet said, Dad, you're all smart. You're all
white. Well,
all your wives are pretty. All your kids are above average. Said, but do not try to repair the band instrument. Bring it to me, and I will look at it, and I will deem if it needs to go in, please. And I had one that I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And come to find out, it was a trumpet on the second valve. The valve was sticking, so the dad stuck a screwdriver up the bottom cap and took a hammer and hammered it in, and it poked through the port into the valve. And
exactly.
We didn't see that, you know what I mean? We didn't see it, so the horn was leaking, and then we took it up to the repairman. He pulled it out. He goes, well, here's the problem. And I said, what are you going to do with that valve? And he goes, well, it's no use now. I said, oh, I can use that valve. So
there's an object lesson.
I passed it around during the parent meeting. So the parents would all look at it. So this is a dad tried to repair this horn, and this is what happened. And it cost him $300 worth of repair when we could have fixed it easily. So
right. That's crazy. Experience is the best teacher, the worst, the harshest teacher sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know it made sense to you when you started it, but you got to think that thing all the way through.
Yeah. I do now. That I'm 62 years old, about to be 63 in February. I think through to the bitter end in every scenario.
My kids make fun of me. Even when we would go skiing, I'm always thinking of I'm the risk assessment guy.
Yeah.
I know that looks fun, but let's consider everything that could.
Yeah.
Dad, shut up. Let me ski.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all that was for free.
Yeah. Won't charge you a penny. Now let's get to the real topic. We were talking about analog technology of repairs.
But here's what I was going to say, though, that it kind of holds true. There is a smarter way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
There is a better way. And sometimes it's awesome to stop and go, am I working harder or am I working smarter? And I think that's actually what technology is supposed to do, correct? Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. But it is kind of frightening, though, isn't it? Because it seems to me like technology keeps moving faster and faster and faster. I mean, I can remember as a band director receiving my first Apple IIe computer with a dot matrix printer with a green screen, and it had the little floppy. They weren't really actually the one before that was a Commodore, and they actually did have the 5 1/4 inch floppy disk. They really were floppy. They were the hard drive and one was the data. And then we went to those, what's now the save icon, which I think is hilarious because
it's still a disc.
Yeah, I brought a disc from home to school one day and showed it to the kids. And they go, "Why did you 3D print the save icon?"
Why did you do that?
No, you've got that backwards. This existed before 3D printers. That's great. Before the save icon, but our save icon on computers for most are still that little tiny
3.5
inch floppy drive or whatever disk drive. But and we were so excited because I could take a letter off my little floppy disk thingy and I could change the date and reprint it on my matrix printer. Where prior to that, I had to use my IBM Selectric and I had to retype the whole letter or white it out and make it look really bad and then type over it. And then I could put it on the copier if I was lucky enough to have a copier. Because we had the old blue, where you turn the deals on.
Sure. Mimeograph.
Mimeograph. Yeah, we had mimeograph things, but they all smelled really good,
and smeared.
And smeared. So technology moves. So it's the things that I see now are just absolutely amazing for music teachers. And I know some of this stuff teachers already use, but hopefully I'll be able to get into some things that maybe they've thought about and maybe give a few ideas. And I'm not going to sit here and profess to be the technician of technology that can help you out in all these things, but I do know people who do know. And
know people who know.
And I tell you what, through my work as a clinician, I was kind of in a way forced into it. Because the old days where they'd mail you scores or they would do this and that, now they just email you things. And you better have some way to access Dropbox or Google Drive or use Fourscore or whatever. So I wanted to go through some things to kind of talk about them.
Make my band directing life easier.
Yeah.
Brother.
The first one I think that every director should own is, I know there's different platforms out there, but the one I like to use is called Fourscore, Forcore. It's one word, Fourscore. And I keep it on my iPad and I can access it on my phone. But it has right now there's probably 700-800 band arrangements in different parts on there. And it's really cool because on my iPad, I can use my Apple Pen or Apple Pencil and I can sit there and I can annotate the scores. And the really cool part about it I like is let's say you take one tune, let's say Darklands March by Randall Standridge.
Right.
A lot of people like that march. But I have like 20 different copies on Fourscore because it's done by the school. And then I mark it with the things that they do, but it's interesting to score through them or scroll through them and you see the same mistakes happening. So then when I clinic a band, if they're doing Darklands March, they say, "Do I need to send you the music?" No, I've got like 20 copies of it. It's okay.
Right, but you see tendencies now.
Yeah, so then I can pull up the one and then they send me an audio recording. And then I download that and I listen to it on my computer through my Yamaha system, which is really a lot of fun. I love just listening to the music. And then I can sit there and I can say, that's most like City View High School in Wichita Falls. And I can go and I can pull that up and I use that to direct from at the clinic.
Oh, wow.
And that way it helps out. But for marching,
so you said FOR, not FOUR. It's not Abraham Lincoln. Fourscore.
Yeah, Fourscore and 7 years ago. It's Fourscore. Forscore.
Awesome.
And I don't even know if I paid for it. I don't know if it's a free download. There's no ads with it. Yeah, I just bought the app, whatever it costs to get the app. And I'm sure you know how it is in technology. There's different levels.
Sure.
Premiere and the whatever. But the base model, it's been great for me. But it's a great music resource. In marching band, what I really love is with my Apple writing device, I can sit there and I can do all the drill things I want to do on the music score in blue. And I can do all the music things in red. And then I can do in whatever other color I decided, purple, I can do like notes to director. And then after we do the whole clinic and we get through all that stuff and we did a podcast on clinicians, this really helps because I can take that entire score and in 2 simple commands, I can email it to that director. It has everything I worked on and has everything I think needs to be worked on all written out. And then he can just upload it and just look at it. And it'll pop up on his machine, open in Fourscore? Yes. And then he can enter the title, clinic on August 4th or August 14th, whatever, and then he can access that or she can access that. But it's really a great resource. And I use it for everything. All my trumpet music's on it. Doing that Rose Bowl thing and the Macy's Parade, the Rose Parade, all that music came to me. I put it on Fourscore. And then that way I can mark it how I want to. I to this day, I don't have any paper copies of any of that music. It's everything's done that way. So that's one I would say look into.
I'm not sure that's not worth the price of the podcast already.
Yeah, because it saves me a ton of time, and my not entire, I guess, because I've still got some nostalgia. I still like Incantation and Dance, the old score I marked on with pencil way back then. But probably 90% of it is all on one iPad backed up on the cloud. So if I ever change iPads, I just download off the cloud. It all goes right back in.
Well, listen, I've got to tell you this, and you may have something coming up about this, but it's been my contention for a long time now, as many band hall, choir room, orchestra room, music libraries that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, however big the room is, nothing's where it's supposed to be, piles here, piles there. Digital is so much better if you want to find something fast.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we're not there like tomorrow or maybe the next year, but eventually it's going to be where all the music will be like on tablets. And I've seen jazz bands operate that way. It's a small.
I see more and more people do that already. Yeah.
Yeah. And if the director pulls up that chart on his tablet, then it pulls up the same piece on everyone's tablet in the jazz band. And then when he marks something on there, he can tell it to make sure it's marked on all their parts. So we're going to breathe on 3, and he'll mark it on his, and it'll go tink. It'll show up on all of theirs, and they can mark their own stuff as well.
Sure.
But there's no lost folders. If a tablet gets lost, you just get another tablet. Not that money's money. Don't get me wrong. I didn't put about that. But if you've ever been a jazz band director and someone loses the second tenor book, oh my God.
Right.
You just lost 80 arrangements of second tenor, and it's not like a concert band arrangement. You just get another third clarinet and copy it off. It's a major issue. So digitally, that helps out a lot. And when kids lose music, like we would put it on, we had a separate like little PC that sat in the music library, and it was hooked up to the printer, and a kid could go print off his contest music.
Oh, wow.
Or they could just sit down at the desk and go trumpet 2, boom, print it out. He'd walk off with it. Now, do people take advantage of it? Not as much as you think they do. Because they have to sit down and I made them do it. Yeah,
right.
You've got to go do that. You know how to operate a computer. You go figure. It's on the desktop. Just look at it and click on the deal that says Contest Music 2024. Right. And find your part. And so they do that. It's enough of a hassle for them that they kind of kept up with their music better instead of just, hey, I lost my music. Someone stole my folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, they stole my folder. Yeah, let's look on eBay and see what it's going for today.
I'm curious to say what the going rate is.
Going rate for a third clarinet part of Markland's March. Let's see what that goes for nowadays. So it makes it where they have to do something. So I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Plus, they can access it at home. We can send music in the summer just by email or
Google Drive. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Google Drive is so amazing because I never used that when I taught because it wasn't a thing yet. But it's really amazing now because I'll get access into it just from being a clinician. They'll let me have access privileges to their marching band Google Drive. And it has every week's lesson plans. It has every responsibility for every staff member. It has all the audio recordings and the video recordings for every performance they've done, plus every clinician's notes in different colors.
Right.
Isn't that cool? Because they'll a good friend of mine will put down a video, and then I'll go in, and my color was yellow. So when I would type in my comments about it, it'd be on brass, woodwind, percussion, marching, body movement, general effect, front ensemble, battery percussion. So you go in and you type your comments, and it shows up in yellow. At the top of the page, it has like Mike Lenny, yellow.
It's yellow, yeah.
Derek Killam, purple. And the kids see all that. And they always put a disclaimer, said, please make sure you realize the kids have access to read this. Because you don't want to go, hey, that idiot needs to get off the 45-yard line. I've told him for
What kind of moron did you give the Sousa?
Yeah, so we think that in our brain, but that's not a good thing to say to a kid. That's not our role, and we don't want to be that way. But that way we know that the kids, and does every kid access it? No. Do the really good bands, do most of them access it? Yes, they do. And to the point where I clinic enough bands, enough times with the same band, I'll put the kid's name.
Right.
So, Derek, again, you're not in the diagonal right here. So remember I told you we always correct diagonals moving front to back, not side to side. And then
I-
in the next video, it's fixed because, I mentioned a constructive comment about how to fix it.
Right. But I think kids are just like us. You have to show them the benefit of the technology. Once they recognize it, they're like all in on it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's their native language. It's not yours or mine.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a funny story with that is like, did the Macy's parade with the marching band directors band. And we were in a place, we were in New Jersey, looking across the river at this practice field, and we did not have internet access. So we were trying to put 400 people into their spots for the parade, and everyone was getting confused because their phones wouldn't work.
Wow.
About that for a second. And then I laughed. I go, ha, boomer to the rescue. I reach my back pocket and I pull out the hard copy that I printed off at home. They're like, oh my God, it's like an archaeological dig. Here's saying how we found the ark. Yeah. But your trumpet 72, you're supposed to be right here. And they're like, okay. I just found that interesting because that kind of pulls me into the next thing. And I know a lot of directors use it, the UDB app. Ultimate Drill Book. And with it is a program called Beam, BEAM. Beam is for the music. UDB is for the drill. And I've never seen such an amazing invention in my life, because in the old days, you remember, we did everything from stand next to a kid and place all the kids in their spots to we had garden hoses painted at 2-step and 3-step intervals. And we would set it on the field before first period. And we'd tell them, this is the arc in Malagueña. Okay, everybody get on your spot, and poker chips. And we did everything you could think of. And now it's almost like karaoke. They can sit there and you can, if you're trumpet 14, you can highlight your spot and you can listen to the music and watch
it, march it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can literally, you watch kids with their devices just walk around the field. It's like treasure hunters or something.
Metal detectors.
Yeah, metal detectors. And then if you say there's, like on mine, between a Fourscore or UDB app and Fourscore, I've got buttons loaded at the top where I can flash between the two. So if I'm at the top in the score, I can pop and it'll pop up that set from the UDB app.
That's cool.
And then I can pop back so I can say, okay, now we need to start the music. It's going to be a measure 46 and low brass is where you have the B flat, blah, blah, blah. You know how you try to start a band.
Sure.
And then so you get them started and they can do the same thing on their devices. They can say,
but you're not up on top of a tower with the wind blowing everything everywhere.
Yeah. Those days, all the chutes are blowing everywhere and you got all these clips and binders and stuff.
So let me just make sure I'm right on this. And I'm sure the rest of our educational world's already up to speed. Big push this year. They took devices away in classrooms. You're not supposed to have your phones or iPads or whatever, but it is okay to use them for educational purpose.
Depends on the school.
Okay. We're talking technology. I'm just making sure that we don't.
School board policy. I know, like I was up at a Canyon with Eric Rath's band, great marching band.
Right. But they were phenomenal.
There's an alarm on his phone that goes boop. That's when the bell rings to start first period because they start before school. As soon as that alarm goes off, he tells them, he goes, all right, put up your phones, please. And so they're using UDB apps. So they all have to shut them down and put them in their pocket because it's during the school day. That's school board policy. And some schools have gotten around that not gotten around it. That makes sense.
Okay. Wait. I just now caught up with you. They were already rehearsing.
Yeah.
With their devices. And then his phone is set to ring the same time the school day starts. So to be compliant.
Yes.
He tells them, all right, that's all the phone time we get today. Put it up.
Yeah, because the phones can be used by state policy as long as you're not in school, not in the building in the time period assigned as school time.
I got it.
That way, the
8:50 to 4 o'clock. Right?
If it's the end of the school day, they can come out in the parking lot and call their mom. And it's not a problem. So that does bring up the question because, different school boards approach it different ways. They can say, okay, like you mentioned, this is for educational use. We might have our government teacher wanting them to look at things, educationally, to look at the Constitution on the phone or look at a certain amendment or, theater arts to watch a portion of a certain one-act play or for band to hear a recording or to actually use it to learn their music and learn their drill. That depends on the school board. Okay. And I don't know I've heard of schools doing that. I need to figure out which schools are doing it and see if I can get a copy of how they presented that. to the school board. What was their rationale? How were they successful in getting that taken care of? Because, we don't want to go back to where just every kid's just staring at their phone all day. But there are times it would be really cool to say, hey, technology-wise, everybody pull out your phone. It's like some schools, we always used them for the longest time now for tuners.
Right.
No one owned a tuner. I'm sure even in the music store industry, we saw a sharp decline in the sale of tuners once phones all had the apps, because I don't use a separate tuner. I use my phone. But the kids can't use that in some schools. They can't lay that on their stand.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I would not have noticed that until this year when we sold out of them.
Yes.
Immediately.
It was the opposite. Because I know there's schools I know of that they took some budget money and bought a whole set of classroom tuners. So they would have tuners with clips in their class. Because before, I would just be at all region clinic. I go, everybody get out your phone. Tune.
No, I have to tell you that I'm somewhat, I laugh at this conversation somewhat because I've tried to use either my iPad or my phone in a school environment on their internet. I can't get anywhere I want to go.
Right.
Everything is choked down. But from the standpoint of texting and other communication, I get why they do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right.
And with technology, this is all about technology. Almost probably 99 out of 100 comments I've heard from teachers, this new phone thing is great.
I have heard the exact same thing.
Everyone thought it was going to be hell on earth and parents screaming and, we're selling their firstborn and we're punishing children. There's going to be just whipping children until they learn their multiplication tables. It's really interesting because now I go to a school to clinic and I'll pass by the cafeteria and there's this strange thing happening.
They're talking to each other. That's great.
I used to always call it plug into the matrix. They just all plug into the matrix and they would just ignore each other. And I think and I think even parents, most parents, as long as they know that if their kid is really in some sort of situation, it's after school, they can still contact their parents.
Right.
They can do it. What are those bags called that you can't have any connection? Is it a Faraday bag? You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I've heard that term.
Yeah, I've got one in my car because that's what I put my extra key fob in.
Well, here, Mike, let me check that out.
Yeah, I think and use your technology. But, you can't keep your key fob in your car because the doors won't lock.
Right.
So I have my extra key fob in a Faraday bag in my car. So if you ever break into my car, you can steal it. Okay. So it's in there, but I have an extra door key that's in my wallet. It's flat. So if I ever lose my key fob when I'm somewhere, I can pull out that key, open the door, open the center deal, pull out the Faraday bag, which blocks all transmissions,
right.
Pull it out, and immediately the car recognizes there's a fob in the car now. So technology is a wonderful thing because I don't have to call a locksmith.
I'm just going to confirm you are correct.
I'm right for once. How?
A Faraday bag, a shielded pouch made with conductive materials like metallic fabric that blocks all wireless signals.
Yes.
From entering or exiting.
And I bring that up because some schools actually invested in those for their kids. So they put their cell phones inside Faraday bags. And that way they turn them in that way. And it has their name on it. So there's all different levels of it. But I think overall it's a good thing that we don't have, But I'm glad I was right about something. I just kind of pulled that out of my, never mind. But
UDB and Beam.
Beam, yes. And make sure you have an Apple IIe Matrix printer. No, you don't need that anymore.
What?
You remember those Matrix printers?
I do.
And this is stupid on my part, but I had one at Wiley left over from Lewis Thornton. And James McCormick, he's now an Air Force major. And when he graduated, he goes, "We never use that, do we?" I said, "No." I said, "Can I have it?" And I let him have it. But it was an Apple IIe functional computer with a functional dot matrix printer. And it's just nostalgic. Now it could be
So it's funny. I have to share my story as well. When we first opened, our point of sale system at the store worked off it's probably the same exact thing. It's Okidata.
Yeah.
Had the holes on the side, the tear off margins with the holes in it.
Yeah.
That you had to wheel it, you had to roll it in just right.
Mm-hmm.
And then figure out where you set it.
Everything was crooked.
And man, those things jammed up like nothing. I spent more time in the early days trying to get those paper in correctly, triplicate.
And we did go through, and still will go through a lot of obstacles to get technology the way it was. I remember Larry Kingsley was the Region 2 Executive Secretary, and he was the first one to develop a web page for music regions.
Okay.
And for the longest time, his template was the music region webpage for every region in the state of Texas. But he also came up with the idea, we need to enter our solos and ensembles and our concert and sight reading. We need to do that online. And we didn't do it online. He sent us a program on a disk, and we loaded the disk in our computer, and we entered our information, and we mailed them the disk back. And
I'm curious to say, thumb drives were that way for a long time. We didn't do it online. We did it on a computer, and then we carried that. We still save time when you got there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For Larry, he could take 30 different schools and just load the disk, and then it would load it all into one big program. So for us, it was a big hassle, and we were complaining, but it was those obstacles we had to go through, because now it's, I guess it's never easy, but compared to what we used to do, it's pretty easy to get on, and it's time consuming, but it's pretty straightforward.
Well, let's even talk about your job at a lot of marching contests, how fast that happens, as opposed to the manual entry and or, figuring with a calculator.
Yeah, and for an old guy like me, that was so hard not to have a pen and paper to do anything, or pencil and paper. Everything's electronic. It's I've got to make sure and for those directors out there that are getting into doing some judging, take some time to experiment with some windscreens on your own personal microphone, because a lot of I do tabulation, and I just make sure that the proper equipment's set up whenever I do tabulation for an area contest. But I don't know how many directors I've had send me recordings from their contest, and you can't hear a word the judge is saying because it just wasn't done. Yeah, you get the
Darth Vader is your.
I call it the West Texas sinus judge.
I've wondered how many burps wind up on adjudication.
Yeah. And it does take away one important part of our technology. We went through the series where we used cassette tapes for a marching contest.
Right. I remember seeing them hold those handheld things and talk into it.
Yeah, you could rewind.
Oh, wow.
So if you said something like, man, if all of a sudden you said something like you didn't mean to say, like, man, this is really bad here. Oh, you could rewind and you could hit record again, and it recorded what you just said. You don't have that luxury anymore.
Right.
Once it's recorded, man, it's on the recording. You're done.
Once it's digital, it's posterity.
It's there, man. And once you finish your show with how we do tabulations for Texas, at least, and this program we use, Competition Suite, is used all over the nation. We're just a small user of it. But as soon as they finish and all those 5 judges, let's say, all their audio tapes are done, I call them tapes still, audio files, then it's immediately sent out on that instant to every person that director's built out on their platform through email. Goes to all their marching techs, goes all to their band directors, to their drum majors, to their band parent president, whoever they want to receive that information. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They'll judge 5, hit stop, done, boom, it goes out.
I laugh. People have that function now on their phone to undo a text. That's kind of a misnomer.
Yeah.
Once it's sent, it's sent.
It's sent. So it's out there. Now the scoring is a different thing, because scoring, it sits there until it's verified. And the judge can verify it, and then if they decide they want to change some of the scoring because they screwed up, then I can unlock it and they can re-verify. We try to tell them don't verify anything till the very end of the day. And then they verify. Then I, as the tabulator, or someone else who's at the contest who's in charge of that, they're the one that releases the scores.
Well, didn't you tell me that you have the ability, and we're kind of getting off track a little bit, sorry, that you have the ability to go, by the way, you are so far off from everybody else. Do you want to look at that again?
Yeah, the call is outliers. So I'll get a call from the state while I'm at an area contest, say, hey, Judge 3 is an outlier on such and such a band. And then your job is to go to them and say, hey, you're an outlier on a certain band, but you don't tell them how high or low. Sure. You don't tell them if it's high or low. Then you have to wait for them. So you judges out there, remember this. So if you want to know if you're high or low, you have to ask. You go, well, am I too high or too low? Then you're allowed to say, you're too high or too low compared to the other judges. Then that particular judge has a choice to make. They can change their score if they feel like they made a mistake, or they can stand their ground and say, nope, I really think that that's where I needed to have them. And yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And I go back to my little tiny booth behind my computer screen and I'm done, So,
Sure.
so that's technology is technology. And, even with outliers now that like for 4A and UIL, there's basically 5 judges and all 5 have a separate caption. So think about that for a second. Can there really be an outlier?
Not anymore. Right.
But I still have calls from the state. Judge 3's an outlier. And I had to tell him, said it was one certain band. And I won't say the name because it's for what I'm about to say. Because they said they're an outlier, Judge 3. I said, well, Judge 3 is the percussion judge. And I said, well, they're an outlier. I said, no, they're not. The woodwinds and brass were good. The percussion sucked.
Right.
They were horrible. Said, so they should have in my opinion, they should have been a lower score. That's not an outlier. He's judging a separate part of the band. Now, there's a lot of discussion. Now, we're getting down a rabbit hole, but there's a lot of discussion on the fact that those captions are not truly captions. We're judging music with a certain emphasis on woodwinds or a certain emphasis on brass.
Sure.
It gets real philosophical real quick. So my opinion is there cannot be an outlier if we're judging separate captions. But enough of that. I can go on for days because I'm a band geek,
Yeah, but I mean, I see your point. Brass is in the top 3, woodwinds in the top 3, percussion's in the bottom 3. How does that happen? Well, they sucked.
Yeah, the percussion was not any good in that particular band. I mean, the woodwinds and brass were incredible. So it's like, well, that score reflects the performance of that band's music.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, how about that?
But that also helps you as a director to analyze next year. I need to spend more time or hire somebody to do percussion.
Yes. Instead of Judge 3 being an outlier just because he happens to be a percussionist. Have you thought about that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So he was extra hard on the percussion, rightfully so, but he just happens to be a percussionist. But he wasn't hired to judge percussion. He was hired to judge as a music judge.
Sure. I get it.
Now they can look and go, hey man, we really suffered in woodwinds last year. I need to get some master classes and we need to give those kids some attention.
Need to shore that up. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to shore that up. I like that term. We need to shore that up a little bit. But also with this technology, even through UDB app, you can check roll. So the kids can check in on their phones. It's about as accurate as anything else we can do. It's better than the old days of clipboards and pencils. They can be.
See, you're making me ask questions now. You do this to me all the time, Mike. But I was the guy that once I learned my music, I never looked at my music again. Once I learned my drill, I really never looked at my drill again. It was all a relative, am I in the right place in this arc? So I wouldn't check in every day if I was that.
There's a function on there to check in for roll.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Someone like you would just pull up their phones, and the director will say that. I'll be in a clinch. He'll say, "Everybody, make sure to check roll right now." Okay, let's go to step 14. Let me do it. And you're right, but it's great to have it on their device if we're allowed to use it in that rehearsal, because even Derek Killam, who knows his spot and knows his music, it's nice to say, "Hey, everybody, look at measure 46." There's a wrong note in the trumpets. Everybody look at measure 46. And then we can all sit there and finger through it and go, and someone will go, oh my,
it was me.
I'm playing the wrong note. So it's not that they're staring at it, but it's not.
I got it.
Library. It's like having Google on your phone to ask questions. Am I playing the right part right here?
Because I got to listen, I'm all for this technology, but my brain is my phone is awkward enough when I'm trying to carry my coffee and my car keys and my briefcase and not drop my phone. I drop it all the time. And they're heavy, and I can't imagine putting that on the end of my trumpet in whatever lyre device they've created for that. But at the same time, can't be any more awkward than a flip folder that blows everywhere and can't hold all the music.
I was going to say, it's about the same weight nowadays.
Yeah.
It's a flip folder with 30 arrangements.
Right.
But you're absolutely correct. I'll go with this because I've had people kind of ask that, said, my kids would lose their drill charts. They're not going to lose their phone. That's like losing their right arm. You know what I mean? They're not going to lose their, they will, but it's very seldom. A drill charts every single day. It's like, I don't have my coordinate sheet. Well, do you have your phone? Yeah. Well, just, you've got the UDB app, just pull it up.
And the other part I would say to that is, by the way, we changed their drill last night. You don't have to have,
because it'll change on their phones.
right.
All they have to do is re-update their phone right there. That program, they just have to refresh it.
And as long as they can read it through the cracked screen that every high school kid I know.
That's good. They're trying to scroll through and cut their finger on their screen.
All right.
The kids.
I'll quit bogging you down then.
No. You're not bogging me down. Those are good questions. Good observations. The other thing about if you're really getting it, because I see this at different schools, if you're really liking to use Google Drive, be very consistent in how you name things.
Yeah. 100%
Some
agree.
directors don't. And all of a sudden, I'm trying to find the video from a invitational that was held in San Antonio, and the date followed by an asterisk is not telling me anything. Name all your rehearsals like, rehearsal Monday, this date, stadium. You know what I mean? Or
I do.
And I've seen them where they're nice enough to put rehearsal such and such, stadium, Lunny clinician, or Maldonado clinician, or Jim Childers clinician, or whoever the clinician is. That way I can know, so it doesn't just say all these different files. I can go back and see what happened in the last time I was there.
Right.
So be very consistent with that, and especially if you're allowing kids to copy off music, be consistent how you load the music into the Google Drive. Is it in score order? Is it in alphabetical order? Do it the same way for every piece so the kids don't get so confused. Because then you're back to the same old problem, aren't you, Derek? The kids are going back to you as the director. I can't find my alto sax part on the Google Drive. Or most kids, I know it's a first world problem or situation. So many kids have computers at home with printers. Their parents do. And I know that's not in every situation. So I'm not trying to say
too broad brush. Yeah.
Yeah. But, there's a lot of kids that if they lose their music, they'll copy it at home. If you give them access on the Google Drive, they'll just print off their music and bring it to them the next day. And you never even knew they lost it. Isn't that a wonderful world?
Can I say?
There's a program called SurveyMonkey. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah, you use SurveyMonkey. That's a great program. You can do concession stand volunteers, kids to work for we're going to have kids play Christmas music at the nursing home. Kids can sign up under instrument groups. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's instead of wasting 15 minutes of rehearsal.
And I know it's not a band application, but we use it in our company. We do quick surveys just so we can make sure that the employees are actively involved, and they don't feel like we're just saying, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We send out a survey. What do you feel about taking a day off after Christmas? Blah, blah, blah. Do you want to do that? So yes.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it in what you just said, but that sounds...
Or an application that's really simple. It's more the band director mode. But I don't know how many times I've used SurveyMonkey for finding judges. If I was charged as the person to find judges for concert and sight reading, I could send that little survey out with the entire provisional and active list included of judges and say, I need you to put down your top 10 picks in order 1st to 10th.
Right. And that's what I'm going to say. The thing that's so cool about it, and I think they all work this way, you can choose what type question you're asking. Is it an A-B? Is it a yes-no? Is it a list? Is it a text answer? Give me your opinion. It's very versatile, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And we used to waste so much time in region meetings let's talk about judges.
Okay.
And the old blackball days. You know what I mean? If one person said they didn't want that judge was out.
And they usually wound up angry.
Yeah, and everyone got mad, and then everyone went and ate chicken fried steak and went home on that Saturday. So we all got mad at each other. Now, SurveyMonkey, it all comes in, and you do it, and it's a done deal. So you can use it for so many things, even electing band officers, figuring out when's the best time for a clarinet sectional. Instead of wasting 10 minutes of rehearsal talking to your clarinets and trying to get them together, you can, because pretty much every kid has a school email, because I would not email them with their personal email.
Sure.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, man. To keep out of their life in that regard, because we don't want any messages on texting or to their personal emails, but through their school email address to your school email address, you can use those surveys and you can figure out, how many kids want ham instead of turkey for their Subway sandwich for Friday night.
Right.
How many to order, or how many would like pepperoni pizza versus cheese pizza? I'm being overly, dramatic about it, but it can solve so many problems.
Right.
You just use it. And so many of these, especially younger directors, like we had Brett Cole for one of our, so I watch her work her computer. Oh my God, it's like watching a Star Trek episode. I mean, she's got like 4 monitors and these things are flying and screens are moving. And I'm sitting there on my phone going, Michael email. He said, my email, Brett, can you make my email work? Your song. She's like,
fantastic.
Typing so fast and everything.
Can I do this? What program do I need for that?
And she's utilizing like 3 programs at the same time. And they're all intermingled. I'm going, I don't
Right.
How do you even turn that computer on? I'm so far. So here I'm giving a technology podcast, just getting information about things I don't even know how to use, basically. The things I do use, I do know how to use.
So our disclaimer, if Mike can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. If Mike can figure out Fourscore, then it's like back to Larry Kingsley. He would send out information to directors about the technology. You know how he would screen that? He told me, he said he had one percussionist in his high school that was the least intelligent kid in the percussion section. And he would go out there in rehearsal and he'd say, here's what I need the directors to do. Here's the instructions, the computer set.
Do you understand this?
But can you go and enter these flute concertos under these kids' names? And he'd go, I'll try. He'll go, Larry will go after class. If nothing got done, he goes, directors ain't going to be able to do it. But that's funny. Good. He'd go, hey, if old Leroy or whoever who's the least intelligent percussionist in my band can do this, every director should be able to.
Right at a 5th grade level.
Yeah. That was a screening point. But nowadays kids are so great with technology. It's amazing. Yeah. And also this probably should go without saying because it's, with the cloud and things like that, and back up important files. If it's really important, I don't even trust the cloud anymore. I still use a thumb drive and one of those terabyte cubes.
I have an external hard drive that goes with me everywhere. Yep.
And I know I back up to it. I know that's about as vulnerable as anything else, but at least it's in 3 places. Right. It's on my computer. It's on that cube. It's also on the.
It's like my reading glasses. I've got them everywhere.
Yeah. And all my stuff for like any of my personal family stuff like finances and all that, it's also on thumb drives in a safe deposit box. I pull them out about every 4 months and I go and I update them and I take them back and I put them back in the safe deposit box. My son has a key to that box. So if anything ever happens to me, he can open up that and has everything on thumb drives listed. So with your band stuff, oh my gosh, we've all been there, especially in the old days when you typed up a big old giant document and then the computer goes down.
Gone.
You just wasted an hour. And not only just waste an hour, now you got to figure out, what did I do? How did I get to this point? So save files as you go.
Well, I have issues with auto update, but it sure does. It has saved me before.
It does help. It does help. And with your kids on Google Drive, be very protective about who can edit things, who can read only. You can list all that on Google Drive. And I'll go into Google Drive on some directors. I realized I've got full editing skills on their entire band library, on their entire band program. I can delete files. I mean, I don't do that, of course.
Sure.
But, they just give me, and other ones, it's like a 3-factor authentication. I mean, I've got to get on my phone, get an email and type in a special code number. And it said, this device will not be remembered. If you log off and log back on, you'll have to go through the 3-factor identification again. And I kind of respect that.
I do. Mike, I got to tell you, that's my most frustrating thing with Google Drive.
Yeah.
So just prepare people. People send me stuff off of their Google Drive, an invitation to look at a file.
And then you can't look at it.
I click on it. Oh, you need to ask permission. Well, they sent it to me. But then I have to wait for them to get back to their email to see that I need permission to get into what they sent me 3 hours ago. They're like, why haven't you responded? because I don't have permission.
Yeah, I don't have permission. I always just kind of, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll text.
I mean, I think it's good. Security.
You go back in and give me permission to look at what you sent me.
Right.
Oh, so sorry. Because they send it to you as if you're a student.
Right.
They just don't think about it. Another thing with this, and with as technology moves at lightning pace, train the people in your organization and yourself, because generally the oldest person on staff is the one with the most authority. Generally,
I can go with that. Yeah,
and that's not necessarily a good thing in technology. Where's my IBM Selectric electric typewriter? I need to do a discipline report. Mike, we do those online now through Gradebook. Oh, I was going to send one to the office in triplicate.
That's so, to validate that. I remember when
we're in trouble.
Basically, I had something larger than the computer I work on now, the desktop I work on, and all it did was word processing. It was an electronic typewriter.
Yeah, I remember those days.
That printed to a file instead of a piece of paper, and that's all it did, and it was huge.
And it didn't do it very well either.
Right, and it was hard to save, and the formatting was crazy. But
I had it top open, and that was the monitor.
But
like a big, giant, fat briefcase.
And so people look at us now as they're typing on their phone with their thumbs, like, you don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get it.
But, oh, well, move on. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Another thing that really helps that I found really useful was medical forms. Before we'd have to carry a big old giant binder of medical forms. And now most schools, like with the kids, have to have physicals to be in marching band. So that's all tied in with the trainers with athletics. So we don't have the kid taking 4 physicals for football, basketball, and clarinet. You know what I mean?
I do.
So they do it that way. So you have access to that. So you have it all as files on whatever device you're carrying with you to games. So you can give that to the paramedic if something happens, a kid slips and breaks their leg or whatever. And it's been upheld by court that an electronic signature, because we know nowadays, when's the last time you really signed anything with a pen besides buying a house?
Right.
I mean, even my lease agreement was electronically signed.
As long as we put the disclaimer on there, you realize this is a valid signature.
Yeah.
Put your name in you.
Yeah. So parents can sign medical forms and put all that information on there. And I think it's more secure.
Yeah, we probably should have brought Rick in the chair in for some of this, because he's done some fantastic things for us. Similar, he's created forms. Our directors now, if they need a piece of music, they can go on our website, click on music order, type in information. Rick has it set up so they have to fill in certain fields. Otherwise, it's wasting time when you have to call back and say, okay, now did you want this or that? How many? So he has, let's say you hit submit, and it goes to an email that I just print out the email, and we saved everybody so much time.
Yeah.
Just using that technology. Kind of the same thing with the medical forms that you were saying.
Yeah.
I would assume that you could do that. I help out at Legacy High School in Midland, Texas. They have a band day. The first stop is people stop and filling out their band information form on laptops.
Right.
And then it all gets sent to a file that Mr. Duyon's created. Man, easy. And here's the most important thing, is what I was trying to get around to. It's all legible.
Yeah.
You don't have to go, what does that say?
Yeah.
So anyway,
or the kid filled it out.
Right. If it's all lowercase letters.
I think my doctor is Dr. Edwards. No, it might be Dr. Zeus. I'm not sure. You put down your primary physician as Dr. Zeus. I'm pretty sure that's not your Michael. There's a problem. Green eggs and ham? No, I am. I don't know.
Dr. Oz.
Yeah, but not that parents can get confused too. But it's just a lot better system. But you can do a lot of documents that way. Even something as simple as people with their personal horns turning in the make, model, and serial number of their instrument. Where, like you said, in the old days, you look at the form and go, I can't even read those numbers. We can't even call the pawn shop now.
What language is this?
Where if you type it in, it's not that it's always going to be perfect, but at least what they typed in is legible.
Sure.
And legible, even that's an analog term, isn't it? Nothing's legible anymore. It's It's just a different world. And I love it, but it's a different world. The last one I want to touch on is one that's kind of more new. I guess it's newer on the horizon. It's been a couple of years, but it's most people just call it by short Music Cloud. Have you ever heard of Music Cloud? It's a make music clouds the full thing, but but it goes through a lot of things you can do within your program. Eric Rath kind of turned me on to it up at Canyon because his kids use it. It has a mobile compatibility to it where they can do it on their phones and their own computers. They can write music. They can do self-guided practice like smart music. They can do recordings, and they can share recordings with other people who are on the same platform. So I can play my trumpet part. I can send it to Derek, and Derek can go, Mike, you're really screwing up the trio in this march. Instead of you thought, yeah, and we can actually help each other and not even be in the same room. We can be in our own houses and working together on that. You can assign assignments and test on it, and it goes out to their school emails, and they can get on Music Cloud and they can do all that stuff, video assignments. It'll tell them which ones were graded, which ones weren't graded. You can do parent guardian emails off of it. I mean, it goes on and on and on, but it's called Music Cloud. Okay. Music. And I think it's the Music Maker Cloud or something like that. Let me see what the actual title is. Because I've just always I've heard it called Music Cloud. That's just what it was. Let me find it so I get the right thing. Yeah. Make Music Cloud. And Make Music's one word, MakeMusic.
I have heard of that.
Cloud. Yeah. And so that's the one I would say that I've not delved into except to watch kids use it and watch directors use it as they grade test at their computer at their desk. It'll be all their beginners, and they scroll through, listen to it, 98, type a few comments, send, goes back to their email, and they just go through, they can grade all their beginners, and sit there and get it done very quickly. So you're not waiting for a kid to get their stand ready. My valve's not working. My valve is sticking. My reed's bad. Can I get a different reed? You know what I mean? They unfold their music out of a little tiny cubicle and has like 500 folds in it. They unfold it onto their stand.
Right.
We can go forever because we've all been there.
Well, my brain's going back to the cassette tape player in the practice room that everybody filed into and out of one at a time, and inevitably somebody either didn't recorded over somebody else's, et cetera, et cetera.
Us Gen X people, it's a tough deal. Yeah, someone would rewind it to the very beginning and screw up all the trumpet players, record over everybody's recordings. So now it's more of I record on my login to this device, and then I send that email to the director, to whoever I want to send it to, and then they send me the information back of what I made. That information the grade is already put into a spreadsheet, so it's easily to transfer it into the grade book, and so there's no paper involved with that, and I think it makes it a lot easier for everybody. And I'd like to say, for anyone out there that, I kind of touched on some things, but I know there's people out there that are just really just technology gurus. If they have things that have worked for them, please send them to me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, share with us. And we might be a nice podcast to have someone who really is intelligent. Let's keep Nick Bernie. No, you're intelligent, but
we've already established that I'm the eye candy here. You're the brains.
It's like we're going to do a podcast on diesel mechanics with tractors, and we're going to get Michael Laney to explain how to, it's like maybe we should get my nephew Nick, who's a diesel mechanic for John Deere. Let's get the person who actually works on the equipment. So if you're a person out there that just loves it, Brian Ekamovich. He loves technology.
Did you know that every time I go through Wall, Texas now, I picture everybody driving their tractor to school?
That's
because you told me that story.
Everyone drives their tractor or some sort of construction device to school.
Implement, yeah.
It's the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life.
But I don't want to stray from your point. I'm not going to beg, but I'm going to get close.
I'm going to beg.
We do need to, if you've got great ideas, especially that would help your peers work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And maybe you figured out, because I always do this, a lot of times this is the only program I have. I have to do all these workarounds to get it to do what I want it to, but I figured out how to make this do something that it was never designed for. I'm not sure that's always a good thing, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I'm cheap. But share. Let us know, and we, I don't even mind reading them on a podcast saying, "Hey, so and so said this. I never thought of that before." Or we can call them up and say, "We need you to come sit down or open your computer. You don't have to come to where we are. Look at technology work, and let's share that. Let's make everybody smarter."
Yeah, and sometimes we actually, in a way, get forced into technology, because I would go out to Pecos to work, and I got to one of their clinics, and they were going to work on a piece, and I said, "Well, you have an extra copy of the score?" And they go, "No, we don't use scores." Said everything's on our tablets, and I said, "Well, what do you?" So I worked the band using their iPad, and all of a sudden I went, "This is really cool.
This is awesome."
I went back to my hotel room and downloaded it, and they sent me the files, and I figured it. And it took me a while to figure out, but sometimes we're forced into it because technology will pass you by. So you might as well jump on the train, buddy.
Well, an example of what you're saying for me is I think the learning curves have become so much quicker and easier, especially when we share. But the notation software it took me forever to write something into notation software.
Yeah.
Because I had to figure out which button to push and how did I make that happen? I think it's much more user friendly these days.
Yeah, especially like Sibelius. I can hit a MIDI keyboard, and even with my rudimentary piano skills, I can do music notation. Where with the first platform of Finale.
Yeah, Finale was...
It would take me 3 hours to do. I could do with a pen and pencil and a ruler.
I could have written this up faster.
10 minutes, I could have written it out.
All right. Well, share, people. Share. Mike, any other things you want to throw out today before we take off?
No, just don't believe a thing I say about technology, but go ahead and download the apps and figure it out.
And we also don't mind you going, "Yeah, that was wrong."
Yeah. Call me out. That's going to be your claimer. For anyone that calls me out and has a true claim, I will give a Chili's gift certificate. We're going to make a game out of it.
All right, man. Well, watch this. Technically speaking, I think that wraps it up.
Oh.
That was bad. That's sorry.
My Google Drive is signing off.
Have a great week, friend.
You too, Derek.